Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about the kind of dream arena, kind of things that you can think about for the newest boss when it comes to gaining, I guess, the most resources out of AFK Journey's, I guess, daily grind, if you want to call it. This boss, or the dream realm in general, has insane value just because, number one, you gain not just these rewards that you see here one time, but you receive it every single time that you clear it. So with that being said, let's talk about King Croaker, who, in my opinion, is definitely much more difficult than the, I think it's the Skyclops, which was yesterday. Yesterday, I ended up getting into like the top 10 or something like that, or 19. Okay, apologies, 19. But for King Croaker, I think that one of the things that you probably have to consider the most about this boss is that, number one, he's basically got a bit of a pushback, or he has like a couple mechanics that, of course, you could read if you're curious about his actual kit. Again, he has a barrier that consumes energy to block damage, just mitigation. He just takes less damage. He releases like a bubble, again, that he throws out, and it just instantly basically one-shots one of your allies. Kind of cringe. But then, of course, he has the AoE, as per all basic Dream Realm enemies basically have. And then he has a knockback and a stun. So what this means for you in terms of designing a team or a character is that, long story short, essentially he doesn't have any real counters, or he doesn't have any real special team composition that you would take outside of just wanting to stay alive. Now, if you saw my video yesterday, or if you saw some of the videos I've been talking about when it came to the Dream Realm and what I've been using recently, I've definitely been putting a lot more emphasis into running Coco alongside Smokey, because they're a really, really strong combo in terms of healing. But then the kind of, I would like to say, I guess the X factor is kind of if I choose to run someone like Odie, who, again, it kind of depends more on imprints or how you've been rolling or what you've been receiving when you roll for imprints, or someone like Kruger, who I definitely have a lot of respect for. And again, he does, very valuable, or he has a lot of utility in terms of reducing physical defense. And again, it says he vanishes them. He does not vanish them. However, he does do really good damage. And of course, with him being physical, alongside Ccia being physical, that kind of means that in terms of value, you could definitely argue that Kruger has a place in terms of this team composition. But whether or not he'll even be in range to get affected by the heal is kind of up to debate. Now, again, the targeting, the maneuvering, and the randomness of sometimes the way that the boss moves and attacks is kind of annoying. I haven't found a surefire way to kind of make it so that not only does your healer or your main utility character that wants to be in range of your allies actually gets in range of your characters, but they also don't die at the same time. Because, long story short, you could argue that, hey, well, I actually want Smokey to heal here. Why don't I just put him in the center? And as you could tell by this really directly ominous red arrow here, Smokey's just going to get one tapped and then he's gone. However, with that being said, I've found that actually using or putting your healers to the side of the main front tile actually ends up being the best in terms of being able to still provide healing, still reaching and, healing the rest of the characters in the backline alongside the front line to be the, I guess, the winning combination for me. Of course, I don't have the perfect composition here, in all honesty, guys. Each fight feels to be a little bit different in terms of what you want to run, when you can give up certain things, or when you can change out your artifact for certain things, and then, reward yourself with a bit more greed and therefore get more DPS. But the thing that I do want to talk about is this Star Shard spell, which in my opinion is one of the most ridiculous artifacts that I've ever seen, especially if you find yourself not needing any more tankiness, because as it reads right here, it says that, number one, you gain haste, number two, you gain HP, and then it also reads that you deal damage to enemies and reduce their attack speed after allies use their ultimates a certain number of times. Now, for whatever reason, I can't find what this number of time is, and I only very recently got the spell, as you can tell by the fact that it's +3. But if you don't have the spell, which I think in a lot of cases is actually very valuable, there's always the awakening spell that you gain by default at the very start of the game, which is always valuable because you gain increased defense, you get increased attack, and the healing is obviously really nice. However, I have seen a couple of variations of the Dream Arena or the Dream Realm fights including Enlightening Spell, which again, it kind of just comes down to, or which again comes down to you just wanting more attack speed. And of course, when you have a character like Cannaaaa in the backline, you just want to get out her ultimate as soon as possible. You want Mr. Carlisle to be hitting. You want Cannaaaa herself, of course, to also be hitting more and more. And although I'm going to run out of money, I believe, at this point, because I've been trying to upgrade all the artifacts and I'm just broke gold-wise, I will try to run a variation of the composition that I know works, just so you can see at least how to gain, or assuming you had the exact same setup that I had, you gain at least 1.8 to about 2 million. That's about the range that I've had right now. Now, of course, my imprints and things of that, nature are going to obviously be different. For context, a bit... I'll admit it, I'm a little bit addicted to the game. I really like playing the game. However, in terms of composition, you don't necessarily need to use specifically Thorin. A frontliner, like Lucius or something, will, of course, probably perform a little bit under that of Thorin. Thorin, I cannot stress enough, I understand not everyone will have him. That's totally fine, I understand. However, in terms of tankiness or composition, you always want, or you would very likely, especially because at some point you start not caring about damage, but you'd rather just survive and kind of tank as much or as many hits as possible. You want to tank in the front line, followed by 2 supports, preferably Coco if you have her. I think it's a her, right? Okay, I've never really looked at Coco, but Coco, because Coco, of course, has the passive of providing damage mitigation, which is extremely, extremely valuable. And this alongside Smokey, who of course gives you insane amount of healing, or team-wide healing, allows you to mitigate the AoE pool damage that he does, or the spray that he does, and then to kind of round out the composition alongside your tank and 2 support composition. At this point, I cannot find a reason for you not to be either using someone like Cannaaaa, or I guess like Vala, or whoever you would replace if for whatever reason you haven't upgraded Cannaaaa, but I really recommend you do. And then your choice of either Odie, or again, your choice of favorite includable DPS. I have found that Vala does not actually always do that well, especially against the world boss. Odie, of course, has his poison and does a lot, but very important, and I don't feel like it's, it's reported nearly enough, is that your imprints do not just matter in terms of, oh my gosh, well, like, you're wailing, oh my god, I can't believe you're wailing in the game. I'm saying this not as a means to, belittle those of you that don't have imprints, but I implore you to remember how important imprints are in this game, because, again, just for consideration, if you take a look at the combat power of a character like, I don't know, let's say my Brutus, who I've never used before and is a warrior, his combat power is 15.3 thousand, which again, that goes into health, that goes into defense, that goes into attack, not including, of course, like his imprints or anything like that. But then you take a look at another similarly leveled warrior of the Mauler variation or faction, and I have 12,500, combat power when it comes to my Kruger. Now, again, they're the same class, they're the same faction, but because I just have more imprints for one character, that means that, again, you're going to have more value with these characters. So then the question kind of becomes, and it is a little unfortunate because there's no other way to test this outside of just wasting some of your runs, you need to very importantly, or it's very important, I should say, that you take a look at how many hits your allies or your teammates or your supports or anyone on your team can take before they end up getting one shot. Because ultimately, although it would be nice to survive a hit through the inclusion of like another faction bonus or something like that, if you're running a character that has no imprints, they're purple or they're not like at the epic tier, if they're just elite, if they end up getting one shot, it doesn't matter if you have the most overpowered character in the game. Like, it just means that they're going to get one shot, and I implore you, I'm telling you, I'm begging you, not, again, to try to trick you or anything like that. Take a look at how much health they actually take or how many hits they can actually survive, because long story short, outside of some cheese where you would have Temesia basically run through the boss and divert the boss's attention, you have to survive these hits. There's really no getting around it. Having Coco, again, and Smokey or Coco and a healer is part of the reason why they're so strong in these compositions right now, because the boss himself is kind of just annoying, and they do a lot of damage, but that's kind of how the boss works. So without further ado, though, let's take a look at how this run goes, and you can kind of see, or I'll give like live commentary for how this works. So again, the fight begins, and I have Thorin, or any knight, in the front line, and as you can see through the little smoky barrier AoE, he is still in range to receive healing. He's going to use his ultimate, and that's fine. But everyone in the backline, despite taking another AoE, you can see it right here, the bubble in the at the top, is still healing. Smokey's got the healing out. Coco's giving, I believe it's haste, attack speed, and drain, whichever it is. But I've already survived 3 hits, which I know, like, you might be saying, like, oh, well, you're supposed to, like, beat this, or, like, oh, how come you're not healing more? How come, like, you know, you aren't killing things? Well, long story short, this is the hardest variation of the boss, and even though I've gotten hit 5 times now, either 4 or 5 times now, and I have Mr. Carlisle coming out, which is also, you know, Mr. Carlisle's also really good for, again, tanking. I've been able to survive for a little bit longer, and although Odie isn't able to survive, I do end up getting out another Carlisle, but that is to no avail. I was only basically able to get 2.1 million damage on this boss, but for my server specifically, that puts me at number 15. And given the difficulty of this boss, given the fact that there is basically no other way to survive his one bubble attack or tank any further, since Thorin went through like 3 lives. I don't know if you could tell that or not, but he basically went down to like very minuscule health a couple times with this boss. I would then suggest, again, have a tank, 2 DPS or 2 healers, or 2 DPS, 2 healers, and then kind of just test your odds. I will try... I was gonna say I was gonna try, but I literally don't have enough money to try it out again. Oh, did we just get more mail? Oh. Okay, well, another PSA. I have been suffering from this. I've been clearing certain fights, and then for whatever reason, it wouldn't show me the clear, or it would fail me, which is extremely annoying. But I will try to claim a couple more rewards. Oh. Well, I don't have enough gold to try another run, but that was my one run. I apologize, guys. Again, if you want to try and use the Mauler, I would, but I'm literally broke. There's nothing else I can do. I'm kind of just stuck here waiting for my AFK rewards. But that was basically everything you need to know about the current Dream boss. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it helped. Again, just keep in mind that this boss is going to be a little bit difficult. Don't fret if you're, again, only making it to like the top 10%, top 5%. If you take a look at the reward system for this game, the rewards are still very kind, very nice, right? Like, you get dream currency, you gain the title essence. These things are always nice for buying 4-star imprints. And as a bit of a PSA specifically for the store, I do want to make mention that, again, do not hesitate to kind of purchase some things that you will know, like, or don't hesitate to purchase things from the Dream store that you'll know you'll end up using. I personally, as you can see, have spent a couple of resources on a character like Lucius, because Lucius was one of my main tanks for a little bit. And although there may be something else in the future, these are just your 4-star imprints. And for me, Croaker has been like a great help. So I ended up buying a couple imprints on him. And, you know, if I ended up not being able to use Odie, or Odie ended up dying, but I actually ended up randomly pulling for Odie anyways, and I got him to that legendary status. But that's all you gotta need to know, or that's basically all you need to know about the Dream Realm boss. Unfortunately, guys, again, it is gonna vary a little bit, but this is what I found to work the most. I really like the Maulers. I really like having 2 supports, a tank, 2 DPS in the back, including Cecia. But again, guys, that's just what I tried. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, hope you learned. If you did, make sure to like, comment, turn the notification bell, and subscribe. I appreciate everyone that's been supporting this content recently. I love you guys. Thank you again. I'll see you on the next one. Good night.